Hey everyone, welcome back. This is part 2 of our episodes on control, when you are being controlled by others. And now we're going to go into a little bit of if you are the controlling person. Okay, so we're going to do just a real quick recap from last week's episode about, when you feel like you're on the receiving end of someone who is controlling. And I use the example in the last episode, and I'll continue to use it about the person when you're on the group trip or the family trip or the friend trip, and they're the one who's trying to manage or micromanage the whole thing and how it makes you feel. It gets you mad, right? So here's a couple of things that you can do before we go into the second part of this conversation. I think it's important that you let that person know, because let me tell you, they won't forget that you said this to them, because you're probably one of the few people that will actually, and I want this to be in a gentle way for you, to call them out. They won't. You never forget when someone in a gentle way calls you out on your behavior.
Yeah.
You could say something like, "I feel like you're micromanaging me when you speak to me that way, or when I feel like you're barking orders, and it's not a good feeling, and nobody wants to feel like they're told what to do. Or I feel like you make a comment every time I load the dishwasher that it's always wrong, and I don't like feeling corrected all the time." Just saying that is a start.
Yeah.
They won't forget you said it to them. Okay.
Right. Kind of holds them in check a little bit.
Share the impact.
Yeah.
Share the impact with them. Don't attack them, but share the impact of how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
It shuts me down when you do this to me.
Right.
I feel like you're doing this to me, and it shuts me down. So what you're doing is you're sharing the impact. And when you're the receiving end of that, it's a little bit harder to come back at them.
It should be.
Well, you and I have this with each other, right? It's like when I say or you say it, when you do this, I feel this way. It's how I feel. We're like, oh, okay. So they don't really want to fight about this.
Or our response to that will be, I can't make you feel anything, right? You can't, right? Like we say that too. Like, well, that's how you make me feel. It's like, I can't make you feel that.
And it's when we say it's how we feel is legitimate.
Right.
Your feelings.
But your feelings are legit. Yes.
Your feelings are not your thoughts, but your feelings are legitimate.
Yes.
Right. And your feelings are legitimate.
Yeah.
So, you can, and I think it's important to set boundaries. As always on here, I'm going to say to you, set those boundaries. And this is another area in your life. So, you could say, like, to the person, your spouse, and they're criticizing you for the dishwasher, or your friend who's, trying to, tell everybody how the next day is going to be on their weekend trip. You could say, we're happy, or I'm happy to hear your preferences, but I'm not okay with you, for example, talking to me like I'm 2. Yeah. Please stop talking to me like I'm a child. I'm not a child.
Yeah.
I think that's important. That shuts me down.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear what you prefer.
Yeah.
Just don't talk to me like I'm a kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've had, this has happened a handful of times probably in the last 20 years for me, like with customer service. We have a person, a patron, a guest that comes up and is like got this controlling attitude talking to a customer service rep.
Right.
And there have definitely been times where I've had to step in and just and again, it's all about the presentation.
You do a good job at this, Tim. I know I've heard this, but you do a good job. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta be really, you just proceed with caution, right? Like you don't want to come in just running roughshod over somebody.
You're good about letting them know that you hear them and you hear their complaint and why they're upset. But at the same time, you won't let them continue berating or being angry, raising their voice. You're pretty good at sort of talking people off the ledge when they're angry and dysregulated.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say, I've said out loud, I'm like, hey, you know what? We appreciate your business. You're one of our customers. We appreciate your, you pay us every month to be here, right? But
what you say matters.
What you say matters, and we definitely take it under advisement. Mm-hmm. And you can't talk to my people that way.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not okay.
Sure.
To talk to my people that way. So if you can't handle that, then don't talk to them. Then ask for me, and you and I can have that conversation, right? Not that I'm gonna let you talk to me that way, but at least I don't want you to talk to my people that way.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
Okay. So that's the end. I just wanted to do a real recap of the last episode. Now we're going into, I don't want you all walking away from this episode and thinking all control is bad. Being a controlling person it's a bad thing. That's not what we're saying. I mean, I think that the control is important for all of us in our lives to give us a sense of agency and self-efficacy. So it's not bad, but I want to suss out a little bit more about, what's the difference between, you know, healthy control and control that's not so good. Okay. So, I'm not for the, rigid fear-based control that strangles you. It strangles you. The person who's doing it strangles everyone around you, right?
Yeah.
People are annoyed by that. They walk away from people like that. They step away, right? So, but there is such a thing as healthy control. So, what does it exactly look like, this healthy control within yourself? It's managing your own schedule so you're not constantly overwhelmed. That's a really good control of your life. It's looking at your routines, looking at your calendar, looking at your planner, and it's managing your own schedule, not anybody else's, but your own. It's controlling your reactions to people, your tone, your behaviors, especially when you're in conflict with people. So you are responsible for managing yourself. That's you having control over yourself, and that's control we want you to have.
Yeah.
We want you to structure your finances. Okay. That's taking control of your financial life is a huge part of our lives. Also, your sleep, your nutrition. Yes, you should control those things. Be doing that. Those are really good things to be controlling. Giving your kids predictable routines so that their nervous system feels safe. So you're controlling the little ones, the kids, and you're helping them with their nervous systems. That's really good. That's good control, right? So what is unhealthy control? We've talked about it this whole past episode. I'm going to do a real simple recap. Your nervous system cannot relax unless everyone around you is doing things your way. That's unhealthy control. I think you all know this by now, but that's your nervous system. Like, I can't chill. Everything has to be the way I want it to be. My
Yeah.
itinerary.
Yeah.
You do the dishwasher the way I want it to be. You clean the kitchen the way I want to. Whatever. You put the candles where I tell you to put them, right? You got to be careful of that. The people you love, they can feel small by you. They feel policed, like you're the warden. And that's terrible. And I think people I know who are in therapy or coaching with me and they're this person, when we have these conversations and they start to realize how they're showing up in the world, how they're showing up to others, they don't like that feeling. They don't mean to do it. And oftentimes there's a lack of self-awareness around this. And once they develop that awareness, like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that I look like I'm like, the house warden or the policewoman, the policeman to my spouse and my kids,
Yeah.
or my coworkers,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I think that, your kids or your spouse or even, your colleagues, anybody, when you're that person, people around you feel like they're always in trouble, always in trouble. And I know I grew up with this. I know what it's like to feel like I'm always in trouble. And it's weird because, well, it's not weird. I know what it's about. But even now, and I've done so much work on this, it's like a primal reaction. If I ever take a break on a Saturday or Sunday and I'm like not doing anything and like I'm reading and you're working and like I talked to you about this summer. If
Yeah.
I'm like done working before you're like doing yard work and I'm done with the air quote, my chores,
Yeah.
and I'm just chilling and reading and I hear you coming up the stairs, I want to like go hide in the closet with my book.
Okay.
But that's because I did that when I was a kid.
Silliness.
Because I felt like my parents were very controlling about housework, and they were so strict about our chores.
Equal shares for everyone.
Yeah,
Right?
but if my mom was controlling in that way, like my dad, I don't remember my dad so much because he kind of took care of the boys in the weekends because they did the outdoor work, but us girls, there's four of us, four girls. We had to do the indoor work. And I don't remember my older sister, but I remember my two younger sisters and I, we had chores every single Saturday morning. And if I like did a half-ass job or I just wanted to get through it quickly, she'd have to come and look and make sure that I cleaned the bathroom the way up to speed. My mom.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And if I didn't, you'd have to redo it again. And I didn't want to, especially when I was like 12, 13. I did not. I was so over all this.
Yeah.
And this happened like through my early years of even high school, but it was definitely the middle school years. And so I'm like, oh, if I had done something, or I don't know, whatever, I hadn't done something. I was so used to her being like, what are you doing? What are you doing? She didn't want you sitting and reading a book and relaxing if she wasn't. That was the thing. She had a huge work ethic. It's because of the way she was raised. She's the oldest girl of 9 children. My mom has been working since she was a little girl. I mean, it was like, excuse me. She worked, they were hard working people.
Yeah.
And they owned some different businesses. My mother was like running the French fries or the opening up the grills and the snack bar for the summer kids. This is up in Ontario, Canada. And lived in a vacation area. She was up early in the morning, turning on the ovens or the grills and getting those French fries ready for all the kids who were coming in to order fries and hot dogs and hamburgers. She was doing that. She was like 9, I
I was
think.
going to say,
9 and 10 years
she was
old.
young.
She was too young. She shouldn't have been doing it. She had to
Yeah.
open up the whole snack bar.
Yeah.
Now, this is like the early 40s. Life was different then, but she still shouldn't have been. So my mom had this like work. And then she has these girls and we're like, oh God. And I do remember that. And I felt
Right.
like, yeah, she's so controlling. And I would hide from her. And it's weird that even now at my age, it's like this primal thing. And I'm like, Anna, this is crazy. I don't go get in the closet and hide from you. But I feel guilty though.
Yeah.
And I finally told you this summer, like, like if I'm done with my housework and you're not done and you're outside and you're still working, like I feel really guilty. And you're like, what? What are you talking about?
So silly. Yeah.
But
I get why.
I think it's like a little T trauma inside of me.
Yeah.
From being around a controlling person when I was very young.
Sure. I thought you were going to say that, like, if I came in and you had been done and you're like reading your book or taking a nap, I thought you were saying like, well, I'd hear you come in and I would jump up and go back to work, like as if I had been.
I've done that.
Really?
I have done that.
It's so funny.
I'm telling you this for the first time. I have done that. Or I've gone to the kitchen and I've gone to the bathroom with a sponge in my hand like I was still working. And I wasn't.
It's busy work. The
work was done. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
That's something to unpack.
Well, but you know what? And there's the other side of this too. And we've all seen it. Like there are people that could care less if the other person was working really hard, and they will literally not move, not get up. They'll sit there and watch you, right? You and I've seen this.
Yeah.
I've seen it work before.
Oh, yes.
Like we coach everybody like it's a team. Everybody jump in and go. And for the most part, I mean, those are the kind of people we hire. So I would anticipate
You've
that's
curated
always,
that team of really great, hardworking people. Yeah.
But you get somebody that comes inside that circle for a minute and they,
we have had that.
Yeah.
We have had that. I mean, and that's a little example and it doesn't show up a lot in my life, but I was telling you all, like on the weekends, I have noticed over the years, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it is like, Anna, why is it still showing up? This is crazy. It's Tim. Tim doesn't care. But I just felt like I needed to tell you. And you're like, what? I don't even notice that.
Yeah.
Because it's all me, with me, inside of me. Right. But the one thing, the great side of that is that, especially I think for all of you who are from large families, you'll understand this. Everybody has to pitch in and everybody needs to help. Mostly large families are like this. And there is a fairness piece. Like I noticed that my siblings and I were very much into, not so much today, we're all older and have our own families, but there are times it still shows up about what's fair. You need to do what's fair. Do your share. And I've noticed, now I am very much generalizing. This is just my life experience of people who are from smaller families don't have that as much. It's a dynamic of large families. And if you're from a large family, you know what I'm talking about. And so like at Thanksgiving or holidays, Christmas dinner, over the years, and a boyfriend or girlfriend has been there, or maybe even an in-law person has been there, we all notice when they don't get up to help.
Right.
And I know you do too. Like we all notice, like because Nick, we have 5 kids and we've trained and taught our kids, you get up, you help out, whoever cooks, cleans up, you know what I mean? Like they all had rules the same way I was raised. And I think that like our kids notice it now too with people. Like if you come in and you don't lift a finger, and I tell the boys, like, even if the mom says, no, sit down, you get up and you start taking the plates away from the dinner table.
Do anything. It doesn't matter what you do.
Just do it and let the mom or let the other person say, no, you sit down. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But you get up and you start clearing away the plates from the table.
Yeah.
Because of how I was raised. But we do notice it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we
don't even keep score, but you do notice
Well,
it.
you don't keep score, but like I know it's come up in conversation with our kids, with their other person after the fact. Like, oh, what's up with that? Like, so-and-so came over for dinner and like went and sat down and watched TV while the rest of the entire family
everybody notices it.
But you know what? Every single time when that person came back again, I don't know that there was ever one time when that person didn't jump in.
Someone said something
because somebody called
because their boyfriend or their girlfriend said something.
Yes.
And they just didn't know because that's not how they were raised.
Sure.
And they just didn't know to know it. But they're like, oh my gosh. Most of them, exactly. I think it's like, they're not like, I'm not going to help.
Yeah.
They just didn't know.
Yeah.
Right. So that goes back to like how I was saying, how I always felt like I was in trouble. And that's not a good feeling to have. And here it is kind of following me a little bit throughout my life. That's a controlling person. That's really unhealthy control over others. Or, oh, this is big, when you are trying to manage other people's emotions
Yeah.
because you can't sit with your own. So you're gonna try to manage the way they feel, talk at them about the way they feel, maybe the way they think, because you're not doing that work. You haven't sat and you haven't allowed yourself to let those feelings percolate to the surface because you're too afraid of your own stuff, right? That's more of a therapy thing. Okay, so this is about the controlling people. So we talked about, quickly what's healthy control and then what's healthy control. So let's go on.
Can I ask you a question though,
Yeah.
real quick? So basically, and I don't want to state the obvious, but I think it is obvious. It sounds like nearly every one of the examples you gave of healthy control was the control you had over yourself, right? It was internal mostly. Like it was like you controlling your patterns of this or that.
It's also, we talked a lot about, do you remember, like you're on the receiving end of the controlling person. That was
Right.
last week's episode.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about like healthy control versus unhealthy control.
Yeah.
And unhealthy control, for all the examples you just gave, it was like control that
It's usually external, but the last one was internal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's external. You're managing other people's emotions because you won't deal with your own stuff.
Right.
That's internal. Yeah, it's external.
But can you have healthy control where it is external? Or I would think you would be able to. Like you're controlling a situation. It's not controlling yourself.
Right.
You're controlling yourself, yes, but you're also, the control we're talking about is the control that you have over whatever that situation is. I have to imagine that there could be a world where that could be healthy. There hopefully,
absolutely.
right? There should be.
And there are situations where you do need to control the situation.
Yeah.
You do need to manage it. People are looking to you to lead.
Sure.
You need to step up.
Yeah.
And you need to manage and control a situation. It's appropriate. It's a case-by-case basis. It's control in situ. It's control in the situation. There are times when you are that person and you need to.
Yeah.
Someone needs to step up and tell everybody what to do.
Yeah.
Is that controlling? I mean, okay, well,
it's
needed and it's looked for.
Correct.
And it's welcomed.
Yeah.
You lead, you control.
Yeah.
That's very different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
the other thing with that unhealthy control, a lot of times, at least from my experience, a lot of times it's that person, they're offering unhealthy control because it's their own agenda, right? Like, I want to be in charge. I want the recognition.
And you know what? We all pick up on that, right?
Of course
we all see that? Don't we all notice that?
Yeah,
that
we
person,
do.
like, okay.
Yeah.
It's about that.
Yeah.
Whether we're aware of it, it's subconsciously, we know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we're flipping it, where I want to flip the script. So we're talking to you if you are the person who's on the receiving end of someone else's control and you're asking yourself, what do I do with this?
Mhm.
What do I do? We talked about it a little bit, but now we're going to get into it. What do I do with this person? Because how do I talk to them? Because I don't know how to do it, because I'm going to blow up at them because they are so controlling, and I don't know how to manage this for myself because I'm going to lose my marbles with them and blow up at them and make it worse.
Mhm.
So what could happen is, you could look like you're like the air quote crazy person because
Sure.
you just have been pushed to such an extent.
Sure.
So let's get into it. So you're the receiving end and you are sick and tired of it. Okay. So before we get into any of it, number one, safety, as always. Okay. So we're going to talk about how you deal with a person who's controlling, so that you don't look like, you don't explode. You don't look like the unstable one, right? We don't want that. But first we have to make sure that the person is just controlling with you and that you're actually not unsafe. So number one, we need to make sure that you are safe always, okay? So, is this person emotionally or physically safe to confront? Ask yourself this question. There you go. Is this person emotionally and or physically safe to confront? And that we're getting into domestic violence here. Okay. Anytime you think that this person is not safe for you, this is not a conversation you're having. Not with that person. Okay.
Sure.
We're gonna have a different strategy for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ask yourself, when you think about this person in your life, when you've pushed back before, have they yelled at you, intimidated you, or threatened you? Number two, have they gotten physically aggressive with you? Have they blocked a doorway, for example, or have they thrown things? That's number two. Number three, have they used money, kids, or access as leverage? If you said yes to any of those three, there's a different conversation that needs to be had. And you are not, I don't want you. Just in general, without knowing any of you, I wouldn't have you talking to that person.
Sure.
Okay.
That's safe to say.
Do you feel genuinely afraid of this person? Not anxious, not uncomfortable, afraid. Okay. You can answer that, all of you. And that's gonna tell you what you're gonna do. If the answer is yes, this is not just a controlling person. Now you're in an abusive situation. The strategy is totally different.
Yeah.
Like I just said.
It's unstable.
It's unstable.
Yeah.
It's unstable and it's abusive.
Yeah.
So for you, you may need to seek out a psychotherapist. You may need a therapist. You may need an advocate, or a trusted person to make a plan with. So you're doing a different thing here. You're making a plan. Okay. You might not confront them directly at all. Like at all. I would tell you, no. These episodes, this is not for you with that person. Okay. So your air quotes speaking up may look like, quietly, for you, it's quietly resolving to leave a situation. Maybe that's your speaking up. You're speaking up as what you're doing on the inside when you're making that plan and you're resolving that I'm out of here, I'm leaving, or setting boundaries through actions. So maybe you're setting boundaries with this person is there's no big sit down talks. We're not doing that. I'm not confronting. I'm not even having a big sit down talk with this person because I'm not safe. So that's your first filter. Okay, everybody. So if you're not safe, your priority is not how to say this perfectly. Your priority is protecting yourself. Okay. So I can't say this enough. All right. For the rest of this, all of you, and for the rest of this episode, I'm talking about situations where the person in your life is bossy, they micromanage you, and they're critical. They may get reactive and defensive. Most likely they do. Most of us do and would, right? But they're not actively dangerous. So this episode is for all the rest of you. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to say that. Really, really
No,
important.
that makes sense. I mean, that person could still, the voice could go up, the volume could go up. Right. There could be things that might come from a
but if you're not
but you don't
if you're not
feel
safe, you need to get out.
Yeah.
At some point, you need to start making a plan. You need to get people in your corner, start telling people what's happening, and
sure,
you're not going to be concerned about confronting a controlling person.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the second thing I want to say. Is this person in your life, are they being controlling, or are they just expressing a preference clumsily? It's a good question. Are they controlling, or are they expressing a preference clumsily to you? So a partner saying, I really like the kitchen to be cleaned out before bed is different from, you clearly don't care about this family because you left the dish in the sink again. Okay. So, I mean, they're expressing their preference clumsily. They could have said it differently. Their tone, their delivery could have been different. I don't know if that's really, really controlling versus if they've learned, many of them have to learn the wording to say, I prefer that the kitchen's cleaned up before we go to bed. I'm more settled going to bed knowing that the kitchen's cleaned up, for example. But they're saying it the other way. And it doesn't mean they're controlling. They're telling you what they prefer.
Yeah.
But they're kind of putting a judgment on you that you clearly don't care about the family. And that's not fair.
Well, like I was saying, it's like you're painting with a really broad brush at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like the scene you're describing is not the scene at all, right?
Yeah.
It's a misread. It's a total misread.
Exactly.
You don't have bad feelings and not care about the family. You're just choosing not to do the dishes, or you forgot to do the dishes, or whatever.
So
anything.
that's going to be a communication issue between the two of you, conversations that you need to have. So this will help you suss out the differences and what you're dealing with in your life. So I want you to ask yourself, is this about their standards, or is it about their need to dominate? Is it about let's go to the dishwasher, the kitchen example. Is this about their standards of how they want the kitchen to be? Or is that this is just another example of how they want to dominate me and they want to dominate this house? So that's a good question. Is there any valid point in what they're saying, even if their delivery is off? Is there a valid point in what they're saying, even if the delivery is off? Oftentimes, I'd say most times they do have a point. The delivery's terrible, but they have a point.
Yeah.
And do I also have preferences I haven't voiced clearly? Like I haven't voiced any of my preferences, and they're always voicing their preferences, and they're controlling. So they're controlling.
Yeah.
Well, but you haven't voiced any of your preferences.
Yeah.
So if you start to voice your preferences, you might not think that they're so controlling
Yeah.
because now you're doing it
It,
like,
it,
oh, this is just what we prefer.
yeah. It might
Does that make
balance out.
sense?
Yeah, totally balance out at that point. Maybe, right?
Yeah.
We're going to, I mean, the theme is communication and
Yeah, it is.
transparency and
Yeah.
just the presentation of what you and how you present yourself, right? I mean, that's kind of where this is going. And that's that's a life lesson for so
Yeah.
many things.
And all of this does matter. Why I'm asking you all these questions for you to think about it. It does matter because your approach is going to be different with someone who has high standards and anxiety. Yeah, they've got high standards and they have anxiety because they have high standards versus the person who's really trying to control by belittling you and dominating you. Those are two different people.
Yeah.
And some of you may say, no, I have a belittling person in my life and they try to dominate me. I would think most of you are probably going to say, yeah, they've got high standards and they're always anxious. Like I talked about last week's episode, how I get anxious and I get in a bad mood. And you'll say, what's up? What's up? What's really going on here? And it's usually that I'm anxious about something.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to notice your pattern. All right. This is on you, the person who feels controlled. Notice your pattern. Do you tend to comply? Do you shut down? Or do you explode at them? The third thing, okay, so this is really important. So this is what you looking at you. So when you're around this person, what do you typically do? Comply with them, get complicit, go quiet, make yourself small? Do you explode, flip out? Or you just totally shut down, going beyond quiet? Like you like turtle, you turtle yourself, all right? So, common patterns of the person when you feel like you're being controlled, these common patterns are complying and people pleasing. It's not worth a fight. I'm just going to do it their way. It's not worth it. I think you've been this way. I have been this way. All of us, well, many, many people I know, and I would say maybe most of you, I think all of us, really, I'm using the word all, have been around people in situations where it's like it's not worth it. And we've got Thanksgiving coming up this week. Many, many times we're like, you know what? I don't agree with this, but I'm going to comply. I'm going to people please. I think for something like Thanksgiving holiday, people maybe you see once a year, it's fine to do it, but I don't want this to be a pattern for you. Okay. Excuse me. Shutting down. I'm just going to go quiet because I'm going to go quiet. I'm going to agree with them. And what happens though is I feel myself totally disappearing.
Well, especially if it's something that has come up before. Right?
Yeah, I lose my sense of self. I just disappear.
I mean, you're just adding, if you choose to do that, you're just adding another chapter to this book.
I know. It's that emoji with the lines of the emoji, the face, it's a disappearing face. That's how people feel when you're around this person. You just shut down, right? Or you'll explode later. Like I stuff it and, clients will tell me like I stuff it, and then I will just lose my shit. And it's usually over something very small. And the person who's air quote controlling in your life has no idea what's going on because you never said anything, because maybe you did all of it. Maybe you were people pleasing. Maybe you were complying. It's not worth it. It's not worth a fight. Or maybe you just like, I'm shutting down now. I feel like I have no voice. I'm not seen. I'm not heard. And then what happens? You flip out over something very small, like, they didn't bring the trash in, the trash cans back or whatever it might be. And it's like, whoa, what is going on? That is over the top. Well, because they're upset about a lot of things and they've just never told you. So that's on you, the person who feels controlled, right? So, and what I think most of us do is we rotate through all of these. We get shut down, then we'll go into people pleasing, and then rarely we'll flip out. From time to time, we'll have the flip out, right?
Yeah.
And why does this matter? All this matters because you can't change a pattern that you won't name. You can't change a pattern that you're not even aware of that it is a pattern. You first have to understand that you're in this pattern, you're in this cycle. Often the controlling person, they've gotten really used to you being this way. They've gotten used to you bending, shrinking too. That's the yelling. But they've gotten used to you bending, shrinking yourself, accommodating yourself for them.
Yeah.
So remember, they know you're like this. They know you're going to do this. So now you got to introduce a new behavior if you want to make changes here. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that This is interesting now, because I mean, does that then speak to the agenda that the controlling person has? Maybe, because they can predict the response almost,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. It's predictable.
Yeah,
We talked about this last week? The controlling person, they love the predictability.
yeah,
So even they predict that they're going to go along with what I want. They're not going to say anything.
right.
And they may not say, well, they're shutting down because they don't maybe care about that. Or they love you and they don't want to think that you're shutting down. They just think, no, they're giving it's my way or the highway, and they let me have my way.
Mm,
And they don't want to argue with me. And I don't want to argue with them. And I do think I know the best. I think I know the right way. And they're just always so agreeable.
right.
Well, they may not always be so agreeable, but it's not worth it for them to fight with you.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So I want you to think the person who's controlling you and you want to make changes. I want you to think, what do you really want? What do you actually want in your life with this person? Okay. So let's say you're going to go talk to them. You're getting the courage up. You're listening to these episodes. You're like, all right, I'm going to do this. I can do this. Like Tim, you said, it's a communication issue. Okay. Okay. We can talk about other things. We're going to talk about this. But you first have to ask yourself, what do I actually want here? Do you want more respect? Do you want to be treated like an equal adult? What is it that you want? Do you want more freedom in a specific area in your life, like around household tasks, around parenting, excuse me, around the schedule? Do you want more freedom? And please don't tell me how to parent. Please don't tell me what I need to be doing around cleaning the house. We can come up with that together.
Yeah.
So think about what you want. Write it down if you need to. And then, and then I want you to think about this conversation. I want you to go to the end. I want you to think about, okay, what went well? Let's say you were talking to me, I was your coach, and we're having a session, and you're about to get on a call with me, and you're like, Anna, it went really well. I want you to imagine what for you constitutes it went really well. Okay. Did they listen to you? Was it them listening? They actually heard me. They actually heard me.
Yeah.
Is there one thing that they said that they would work on and change? What do you want? Do you want one specific behavior to change? Please, I know this is little, but you criticizing me about how I load the dishwasher and talk about how it makes you feel. And maybe they heard that and they could say, all right, I'll work on that. That's a win.
Some
Huge
people
win.
could probably hear that and say, I'll work on it.
And maybe
Right.
you would say to me, you know what went really well, Anna, is for the first time in many, many years, I showed up to that conversation totally different than I have been. And I was very aware of honoring myself. I was very aware of honoring myself and keeping my self-respect in this conversation
Yeah.
and making it clear what my needs meant and what I would like. And maybe it's like, number one, I'd like the sarcasm and the tone in their voice to change. And I told them that. And I think a lot of times they're not aware of it.
Mhm. That could be.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
could
think
be.
about what you want. All right. What you want the outcome to be. Okay. If your secret goal is something like they will suddenly become self aware, apologize for everything they've ever done, and never be controlling again, you're going to be disappointed. So don't make that
Yeah.
a goal. Don't make that an outcome. All right. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, even if you hope that they're going to change, I mean, I think that's a great goal. But like at the end of the day, you make that statement, but then you've turned that loose to that person. Then
Yeah.
it's really all on that person to receive, comprehend, analyze, and at some point decide what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's no longer up to you.
A more realistic goal for you, if you're having this conversation and when you have this conversation with the controlling person in your life, might be I'm going to clearly name what's happening, right? How it affects me, how I feel, and what I will and will not accept going forward. That's really good. I'm going to name it. I'm going to say how it makes me feel, and I'm going to tell them what I will and will not accept, will and will not tolerate going forward. And you could and I always say to all of you, watch the tone in your voice and watch your delivery. I say this all the time. If you've ever been a coaching or therapy client of mine, you know I've said it to you. There's not much I believe we cannot say to one another. It's all in your delivery. Okay.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How much does it factor in the dynamic between the two? Like if you're talking to your spouse, that's one thing.
Right.
You're talking to your sister, brother, that's a thing. You're talking to your parents, a little different. you're talking to a boss, let's say at work, which a lot of our listeners probably come across that during their time at work. I got to say that's probably a whole nother type of situation, right? That's very different again, because then you got to think about the long-term potential effects of this move to have that difficult conversation with
Well,
that
you're
person.
going to curate it for each person and the role they serve in your life. They're all different. Those are different roles. Work is different from personal. Colleague, coworkers, different from your mom or your dad. You're talking now up the generation to your parents versus your adult children or versus your teenage daughter. It's all different, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the situation. I was just thinking right now about it, and this is from TikTok. This person I follow, she's sort of like a modern day Dear Abby, and it was all about control. She was reading an email or a letter that someone wrote to her. So she was a grandmother. She was a woman. I don't know her age. She was a grandmother. She had 3 daughters-in-law. And she said, my daughters-in-law are being terrible. They're all bean counters. So she and her husband are the grandparents. They must babysit and they have them over. It sounds like they have them over quite a bit. So they're pretty caring, close family, and they must live in the same town and community. But she says, these 3 daughters-in-law are driving me nuts. They're bean counters. They keep score with each other on everything. And they have told her, you cannot treat these children. She's got like 6 or 8 grandchildren. You can't treat their kids, my nephew or niece, differently than the way you treat my niece, or my kid, my son or my daughter. She gave an example of one of the daughters-in-law and son gave her a blanket, like a throw blanket with the kids' pictures all over it. And the other daughter-in-law said, you have to put that blanket away. We come over because we don't want to see it. And it makes our kids feel less than.
Wow. I mean,
it was really, and she just gave example after example, this Dear Abby person of this grandmother talking about these 3 daughters-in-law who are telling her, they are keeping score. And the Dear Abby person said, they obviously are talking to one another because there was something that indicated that they all talked to each other about being treated equally, and they wanted all to be equal, even Steven across the board. And this poor grandmother was like, I don't know how to do that. So if I forget to run and put away that blanket because, my other son and my other daughter and daughter-in-law, maybe, I don't know if they're gay or hetero, they come over and their kids, like, that blanket's not put away. Or if I took somebody to Dairy Queen, but I didn't take them to Dairy Queen, they're going to hear about it and they're going to feel like they weren't as special because you took them to Dairy Queen after dinner Sunday night. And when we were there last Sunday night, you didn't do that. And this Dear Abby person said, you've got to let them all know. You need to send them an email or you sit them down. You tell them this has got to stop. They're controlling her.
Yeah.
And she said, you might want to add in too, because she said something about her and her husband were thinking about semi-retiring to Portugal. She's like, you may want to also throw in that zinger and let them know that you're going to Portugal. Because it sounds like they have a good situation with this grandmother.
Yeah.
They're controlling her.
Yeah. And it's
about boundaries. And as your Abby woman said, you need to set boundaries with these daughters-in-law and your sons. I'm so glad she said that. She goes, okay, where are the boys in this? Where are the sons in this? Or maybe your other daughter in this. Call them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really good example of control.
Were the 3 coming as a united front with this presentation?
Yes.
They were.
Yeah,
so it wasn't like one came in and then
together they sent this email. And she said,
boy.
my daughters-in-law are bean counters.
Oh boy.
They keep score with each other, and they're keeping score now with the grandparents, telling them what they can and cannot do. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. So here's a hard truth that you may have to accept. All right. You can't manage the controlling person's anxiety for them. This is really important. You can't. The last thing to remember before you say anything to this controlling person is if their controlling behavior is driven by anxiety, as it is for many of us, you can be compassionate about their anxiety without taking responsibility for it. That's a really clear and healthy boundary. You can be compassionate. I feel for you.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any responsibility for your anxiety. You got to deal with that. You could talk to somebody. Or you got to figure out skills to deal with your anxiety.
Right.
Because it's coming across way controlling. And that's on you, right? So your job is not to make sure that they never feel uncomfortable. Your job is not to do everything their way so they don't have to feel afraid, right? And your job is not to shrink yourself so that they can feel big. Don't do that. Okay? Your job is to be honest. Your job is to be clear. And your job is to be respectful. Always be respectful to this person, all right? And your job is to hold your boundaries, even if their anxiety spikes or goes up, okay? Hold your boundaries. And it may feel uncomfortable for you because you're watching them get anxious. Then you need to learn to sit with discomfort. You need to learn to sit with people who have strong feelings around you without it getting under your skin. That's a lot of personal development growth that I do with my clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because if you want to start to take care of that, now we're going into a little bit of a codependency personality piece here. I'm not going to talk about codependency, but many of you know what that is. It's not your job to make everybody around you feel okay. And if you've been doing that, you know what it's like when you feel controlled by somebody and you start to resent it. So now you got to learn to sit with your boundaries, stay firm in them, but you're watching them get mad. You're watching them get nervous or anxious. Let them have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how are you going to do that? Okay, that's a question for you. All right. You're allowed to care about their feelings. You're allowed to care about people. You're not allowed to abandon yourself to regulate their emotions and their feelings.
Right.
Don't abandon yourself.
It's a near impossible task.
Right.
Right.
Well, it takes work.
Yeah.
That's what the work that, my clients do with me. It takes work. It does help to have someone one-on-one to go through this with session after session. People improve. People get better.
Yeah.
People really do get better with this. It's really cool to watch and it's really cool to experience. And you're the one who's going through it.
Right.
And you see the improvements in yourself and in your relationship.
Right. And that
Right?
type of person has made the decision to work on it. Right. Some people never will. They just, for whatever reason, could be.
They want freedom. They want
Yeah.
confidence. They want to find themselves again. And they're tired of being controlled by people.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you're like, stick a fork in me. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. This is ridiculous. How did I get myself into this relationship? Maybe you were somebody who was always kind of a people pleaser, or maybe you were like, no, I wasn't a people pleaser. I was never this way. But for some reason, this dynamic in this marriage, in this long-term relationship or this whatever, I don't know what's happened to work, but now I'm like, I've lost control. And this person knows it. And they've kind of talking to me a certain way. And they're disrespecting me.
Yeah.
You got to take back onto yourself and reclaim yourself.
Yeah.
That's your job to take care of you.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you actually talk to this controlling person? All right. This is like, right. This is a scary thing, right? You need to name what's happening. So that's specific. Name what's happening. Share the impact, not the attack, right? So name what's happening, share the impact on you, and ask and state for what you need. Name your boundary. Easy. Go write this down. Name what's happening, share the impact with them, don't attack them.
Yeah.
And then I want you to ask for or state what it is you need from them. And in that, you may name your boundary.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the most important part of that is to state the impact. I do.
So let's go into the details of it. Let's
Yeah.
break it down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay. So name what's happening. I want you to be specific. Okay. I'm coaching you up here. So instead of global statements like, you're so controlling, which, many of us have used, you're so controlling. I want you to use concrete examples. Okay. When you correct the way I load the dishwasher every time, this is how I feel. When you question every purchase I make, it does this or that to me, and I feel this way. When you tell me what I should say to my family, my kids, my parents, my boss, it's like you take my voice away. Think of it for yourself. So these are just some examples. When you raise your voice and yell at me in the car, insist we do it your way, but, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're being really specific with them. Okay,
Yeah.
you might say, you might want to say that to them, like, "Hey, Joe, I want to talk to you about something that's really been bothering me," or "Hey, Susie, could we talk about something? Something's been bothering me lately. I want to have a conversation." Oh, you're going to get their attention. You do that, they're like, "What? You're getting their attention. They'll almost stop everything to have this conversation. What's up?" So when you correct, you're always correcting the way I'm cleaning the kitchen, loading the dishwasher. There's a specific behavior. So when specific behavior, I experience that as you being really controlling of me. I think that is so powerful.
Yeah.
If you heard that from someone,
Yeah.
your spouse, your friend, maybe your roommates, I like living with you, but when you criticize the way I clean the kitchen after I've eaten, I experience you as being just really controlling.
Yeah.
This keeps a focus on the observable behavior rather than attack on them and their whole personality. Okay. And that's how they're going to get defensive, but the defenses don't go sky high up fast when you're really focusing on an observable behavior. Okay.
That makes sense.
Really important.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then I said, number 2, share that impact. All right. Don't attack them, but share the impact. This is important. So, this is the part where most people skip this part. They don't share this part. You're not just complaining to them, you're explaining emotionally what happens inside of you. And that's the hook. So, yes, people do skip this part. I don't want you to skip this part. That's the hook. Then they're like, oh, okay, because now you're taking it to a deeper level that they can understand. Most of us can understand what it's like to feel the way you're going to tell them.
Yeah.
Because they have felt that way before, right? So when you say things like, I feel micromanaged by you, I just end up doubting myself. I hate doubting myself, but whenever you say this to me, it makes me doubt myself. I start to feel like a child instead of your partner or instead of a colleague. I feel like a kid. And that's going to hit.
Yeah.
I shut down and pull away from you. When you just make these snarky, sarcastic comments, or I hear you mumbling, it shuts me down.
Yeah.
I feel resentful and I feel less attracted to you. That's a big one, especially for women. I love this one. Not that I love that you have to say this, but I get this a lot from women.
This one.
But I do,
Yeah.
because I think that, especially in heterosexual relationships
Yeah.
or homosexual relationships, I think that, when women say this, and I've seen this with men, like, oh, I didn't realize it. When you berate me about, how I didn't, clean you come home from work and the house is dirty. Why didn't you clean up? Well, because I'm like up to my ears in diapers, or I have my own job. I'm working, I'm busy, and I didn't vacuum or dust or whatever, or clean the bathroom. It's just, I get totally resentful of you. And I have to tell you, it makes me less attractive to you. The last thing I want to do is have sex with you. The last thing. I want to read my book and go to sleep. Don't touch me.
Yeah.
That's heard.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
for sure. 100%.
That's
100%.
heard. When you correct me every time I load the dishwasher, I feel micromanaged and start to feel more like a child in this house than an equal adult. I end up shutting down and totally resenting you. So, notice that, I didn't say here, you're a controlling jerk. You're being an a-hole. I didn't say that. You're saying, here's what happens inside of me when this behavior on your part or this pattern shows up. This is what happens on the inside of me.
Right.
It's easy to say you're this, you're that. But when you share the impact, that's heard. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like when you do a presentation, right? It's about something that's not working well. And you can go in and you can just like basically slam somebody or slam all the things. Or you can go in and we call it solution-based. Like you go in with like, okay, identify, and then, but I'm coming with my potential solution.
Well, CEOs tell me all the time, I mean, don't go in, and I tell my younger clients this all the time, don't go in and complain to them. Don't go, the project manager, the lead, the CEO, the president, don't just make an appointment with them and go in and complain. You better have a solution.
Totally.
Because you're wasting their time and they're not having it. And actually their respect for you will go down.
Yeah.
Do not turn this into a bitch session. You must have a solution.
Yeah.
You can state your complaints, and there's a whole other way to do that. We're not going to talk about in this episode. There's a way to do that. You better have solutions.
Yeah. Because
you better have good ideas.
Because if you don't, then...
And get help with it if you don't have any solutions or ideas.
Because if you don't come in with a solution, then you're basically giving that person something to do.
And they feel like you're wasting their time. And they want you to lead. They want you to be a leader.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to state what you want, which is a nice segue to talk about solutions. State what you want. So most controlling people are used to others either complying to what they want or silently resenting them, and they know it. They rarely get clear requests from people. Think about that. The controlling person gets away with being controlling because they're not confronted, they're not spoken with, and they get what they want. So for them, it's a positive feedback loop, right? For them. So when you add something like, what I'd like instead is this, it would help me out a lot if you could this. Okay. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm asking for. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
there you go.
It identifies it quickly, and hopefully that person can then take that information and decide, yeah, that's a great idea.
Right.
Right. I need to work on that because of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, an example is like what I'd like instead is for you to tell me your preference once. So notice that I'm not saying controlling. You're being controlling. I'd like you to tell me your preference once. Then let
Mm,
me handle it on my own way without your commentary. Tell me. I'm hearing. I hear your preference. Then let me do it, and don't make any comments about it.
right. Right.
Really, really good. I love that one.
Yeah.
I use that with clients all the time, and it does tend to work. It would help me if you could share your concerns about money in one conversation. Let's sit down and have one conversation about money and shopping and finances. Instead of questioning me every single time I make a purchase, you see the Amazon packages or see the Amazon charges. Let's talk about it once. When you berate me every single time and you make these sarcastic, sort of funny but not funny comments, it just digs at me and it makes me mad at you. It makes me
Mm,
pull away from you.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm asking that when we're around my family, you don't tell me what to say in the moment. Don't tell me what to say. You can share your thoughts, with me beforehand or afterward. Don't do it in the moment. Okay.
Like in real time?
In real time. Like
Yeah.
a controlling
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
when we're around my family, you know, don't tell me what to say to them.
Yeah.
Like in that, pull me aside. You say this, you say that. No, we can talk about beforehand. We can talk about it after. Let me be me, and I will control myself. You don't
Yeah.
control me
Yeah.
around your in-laws, my mom and dad. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Puts me in a terrible position. Puts me in a bad mood. And it makes me mad at you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're drawing a different map, for how you want to be treated. That's really important. That's what that's exactly what you're doing with your person. Even your colleague, coworker, you're drawing a different map for them.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you do all this, everybody, they will not forget. This is a powerful conversation about controlling people.
Well, because in certain situations, this potentially changes the course of time, right? If this is something that has happened over and again, and you have finally decided, you know what, we need to have a conversation about this, you are putting yourself in a good way with an opportunity to change it forever.
But you need to have the conversation. So you're listening to this or you're watching this on YouTube. You need to have the conversation with that person. So I encourage you to muster up the courage
Yeah.
to do this, okay? And go back and listen to this again because I'm taking you through step by step how to do this. I'm coaching you up on this, everybody, okay? So go back and listen to it, get a pen and paper down, and now we're in step 4. I'm taking you through the 4 steps. If you write this down and you use some of your own examples from your own life, you got this. You're there. You got this. You can do this, okay? So this is like such an important conversation because every single one of us knows controlling people. And I think a lot of us have been that controlling person at times, right?
I think every
Yeah.
single day this presents itself in one way or the other,
Yeah.
right? On one side of the fence or the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
It comes up
Yeah.
every single day.
Okay, so now we're to step 4 again, where I said name the boundary, what it is, name what it is you will and you won't do. Okay, so this is where you're communicating. Here's the line, calmly and clearly, but here's a line. All right. So let's say it's different in different relationships in your life. Let's say with your spouse, your partner. If you keep correcting me in front of the kids, I'm going to pause the conversation and step away, and we can talk about it later when we're alone. If you keep doing this in front of the kids, I'm going to step away. I'm giving you a heads up that that's how it will be. And it's funny because I remember this when I was in therapy many, many years ago, and I had a great therapist when I was terrible time in my life, which I'll talk about in the future on here on the podcast. And he said that to me about somebody who was really going after me and berating me. It's exactly what he said to me. This was like over 25 years ago. And he said, you need to say this. And that's what I really am pulling from because it was very helpful because it put the person on notice. If you keep talking to me this way, I will say goodbye and I will not hang up on, like it was on the phone back then. Which
Yeah.
a lot of it was happening on the phone. So it's like, I said, I will say goodbye. So you're not hanging up on the person, which can make people even more mad.
Sure.
You're not hanging up, but you're saying, I'm going to say goodbye. If you can't talk to me in a way that's more respectful, or if you keep yelling at me in front of the kids and telling me what I'm doing wrong, all right, we can talk about it later, but we're not going to continue to do this. That's a wonderful boundary.
Yeah.
Or I'm not willing to be talked at like a child. Please don't talk at me. If your tone becomes demeaning If your tone feels to me like it's demeaning, I will end this conversation and we can pick it up. We can both be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great if you can do that. I will not have that conversation with you where you're getting demeaning and disrespectful. We'll do it later when you can speak to me in a more respectful manner.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think that's so great.
No, I mean, you and I have had that moment before where the emotions are so high and we have
It starts
said,
to devolve. The conversation
we're like,
devolves.
you know what? Let's regroup on
Mhm.
this tomorrow because this is really now that we've lost focus of what we're even talking about. Now it's
It
just
devolves and we get really
yes.
mad
Yeah,
and we get
yeah,
completely in our emotion mind.
yeah.
We're not using our wise minds
Sure.
because we're getting irrational and we know we need to step away.
Sure.
Right. Okay. So that's with a partner, a spouse, a lover. Okay. So now we're talking about the situation. Let's say it's your parent or your in-laws. I mean, and you can say to them, if you continue to criticize how I parent, we're using parenting here. If you continue to criticize how I parent in front of the kids, I'm going to have to wrap up. We're going to wrap up this visit early. So you're putting them on notice. I'm happy to talk about your concerns one-on-one, but not in front of the kids.
Yeah.
Really clear, really fair, middle of the road, but you're setting that boundary. It doesn't have to be emotional. You don't have to raise your voice. If you continue to criticize me in front of the kids, we will end this visit early. I'm happy to talk about your concerns, but we're not doing it in front of the kids.
Yeah. And I think that's a fair.
I think it's great.
I think it's a fair thing
great
to,
thing if you
to
can
say,
do that. I think
right?
it's great.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Okay, so and now we're at work, and let's go to this is your boss. If feedback is given by raising your voice or calling me names, I'll end the meeting and reschedule. We can talk professionally. You can do that with your boss. If you're going to call me names and speak to me in a disrespectful manner and you're going to continue to yell at me, I'm going to end this meeting and let's reschedule when we can talk professionally to one another. I'm open to your feedback, but I'm not open to you speaking to me that way.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so badass.
Yeah.
So badass.
Yeah.
Okay. So write down these examples, everybody, and work them, tweak them a little bit to your life situation and make it work for you. Okay.
I think a lot of people don't think about that. Like they don't think like in a conversation with a superior.
You could say
that you could at your timing say, you know what, that's the end of this conversation, that's the end of this meeting, that's the end of whatever. We'll pick this up at a different time when we're in a different spot.
And I think you garner
right?
more respect if you were to do that too. Actually.
Yeah.
If you were the one who was able to maintain your emotional control.
Right.
Right. We talked about emotional mastery last 3 sessions because it's so important for our world today, the worlds we live in. Emotional mastery, emotion regulation. So I would be like, well, I may not like that you spoke to me that way as your boss, but I'd respect you.
Sure.
Right. So boundaries, they're not punishments, right? They're just simply you saying, here's what I'm available for and here's what I'm not. Okay. So next is timing and tone. Okay. So, how and when do we bring all of these issues up with a person? Okay. So here's a few coaching points for all of you. Don't do it in the heat of the moment the first time. Avoid that. Have a conversation when you're relatively calm. I always say when you're in a neutral environment, a neutral mood, don't do it when someone's rushing out the door to work or just coming in. You're in transition, the kids are all around. Find that neutral moment when you're both relatively calm and it's neutral, right? Use I language as much as possible. This is Psychology 101. Use I statements, I statements, I statements. I feel, I experience, I'm asking versus you statements. Don't use you statements. I mean, most of us probably learned this at some point in our late teenage years. Really, and if you haven't, this is really key. Don't say you always, you never, you this, you that. That is an immediate way to get someone's back up. Think about yourself in your own life. You always do this. What do? You get your defenses up and your mind shuts down. You're like, la, 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 la. I'm not listening to a word you said to me because you're now attacking me, blaming me, you. Nobody wants to be talked at. We want to be spoken with.
Yeah.
No one likes being talked at.
Yeah. I mean, the no word should be like use on that list. Always, never. I think those are the words. Like once those
always,
words
never, the
come
absolutes.
up, yeah. Once those words are brought up, it's like okay. I'm always like okay. I've turned one ear off because that's
when the person's doing that. We've talked about that a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
When a person's saying always and never, usually they've gotten themselves pretty dysregulated emotionally and they're keyed up.
Sure they are.
and they're not really thinking. They're getting a little irrational emotionally. And for me, how I experience it in my profession is that they have been stuffing for so long their thoughts and their feelings and their emotions. And now they have blown up because they have been controlled, for example, and now they've blown up and they've lost it.
Sure.
And you this and you that. And a lot of what they say is true, but it's coming out sideways because they're using all those you statements.
Right.
And the person you're yelling at is not hearing you.
Sure.
Okay. So really avoid the you statements, use the I language. I think, I feel. Okay. Short is better than perfect. You don't have to do a TED talk. Don't do a TED talk with that person. They don't want to hear it. You just need 3 to 4 clear sentences when you're saying what it is, what the problem is. You name it. You say what it is you want to change, right?
Mhm.
And what you're available for. You say what your boundaries are. Don't do a TED talk. They're going to stop listening.
Yeah,
okay?
that's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So you may say like, hey, baby, like with you, like here's something important that I want to talk about. I mean, I think I think I've sort of done this before with you. Like, this is not about attacking you. It's about how I've been feeling in our dynamic over the past few months. Are you open to talking about that?
Sure. Yeah.
And that tends to be a really good way for us to start a conversation. If there's something I want to talk to you about that's been bothering me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When somebody comes
Or
in
vice
hot,
versa.
that almost always, not always, but almost always does not work.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So if they say no or shut down, that gives you information about the relationship right there. If they say no, I'm not doing this, or they shut down with you, then you got some bigger fish to fry, but you just got a lot more information about the status of your relationship in that moment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what if they do get defensive? They're just offended. And you're like, geez, I thought I was doing everything right. And they're just, whoa. So, this is what everybody worries about. Everybody's like, well, what if they get defensive? They deny it. They're going to deny it. They're going to turn it back on me. And I have seen this. I've watched this in couples therapy. I've watched this in working with families. People do this. They get defensive and they do turn it back on you. And what happens is, and I've had to coach my clients through this, they shut down because it's such a big deal for them to do this in the first place. And they had said to me, they're going to turn around. They're not going to listen. And they did. And the next week, my client goes, they did. They turned around on me and I shut down. And the win is that they even brought the issue up. So we continue to work through how we're going to continue this conversation, get their courage back, be brave, and they're going to continue this conversation. But I won't tell you these are hard conversations. And they're essential for you to take back some control in your own life.
Yeah.
Rather than controlling person. Okay. So expect defensiveness. That's what I say. Expect defensiveness. Don't think they're not going to be. You know how they are. They're going to be defensive. Have that in your mind and get prepared for it. Okay. You're disrupting a pattern that we've talked about here. It's been working for them for a long, long time. So you're now the person who's coming in and disrupting it. All right. But we might need you to disrupt it because something's got to change.
Yeah.
So here are a key few phrases to keep in your back pocket. Okay. I hear that you don't see it my way, or you don't see it the way that I see it. I'm sharing with you how it lands for me. This is how it lands. Hard to argue that one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying any of that. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying this behavior of yours has been hurtful towards me. Okay. So that I love that one because you're like, no, you're not a bad, like I'm a bad person. I'm just bad. I'm a bad friend. I'm a bad wife. No. I want you to know.
That's that broad brush again.
Exactly.
Right.
And sometimes it's kind of a way of getting out of responsibility and accountability.
Yeah.
You're like, well, but I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying that this behavior, it's been hurtful to me. Right.
Yeah.
Another one is we can disagree on the details. Okay. So that's not how you remember it. Fine. We can disagree on the details of this situation or this pattern that I'm seeing, but this is still important to me. And it's important to me enough that I'm bringing it up with you. Something is happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a good point too, because we all get lost in the details, right? Because our memory of what happened.
We get defensive. We go back and we're like, well, that's not exactly how I remember it. And
yeah.
I don't think I was that controlling.
But that's commonplace.
It is commonplace.
Like your story and my story are different.
And it dismisses the person that's talking to you that doesn't want you to control them anymore.
Yeah.
And then what you're doing, you don't mean to maybe, is that you're dismissing them and they feel dismissed.
Yep.
They feel minimized. So I want that person who feels minimized and dismissed to stay there, head up, shoulders back, stay with the conversation. You could say something like, I'm not interested in blaming. I'm not interested in blaming you.
Yeah.
I'm interested in changing how we do this? Because this is my perspective. So we work on changing how we do this?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
sit with it. Don't leave. Stay with it. Okay. If they continue to escalate, you can calmly just say to them, this conversation is okay. This conversation is not working. It's not productive right now. So let's pause and let's come back at this another time. But I do want to continue to talk about this. Can we do that? Can we talk about this again? Usually they'll say, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But then, they've walked away and they can kind of digest and swallow what you've just said to them. Because like I said, like they're like, oh, geez, they're not used to the controlee is not used to
Sure.
being the controller is not used to being called out by the controlee.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is really good personal development work if you're interested and you do any of this, okay? It's not perfect. It's not always going to work out. The person may get defensive, like so defensive that the conversation breaks down because they can't do it. You can say, "All right, let's end here, but can we continue this conversation? Can we do this again where it's more productive?"
Yeah.
That's so big.
That's big. And I think there's a bit of risk there too.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Ooh, yeah, there's risk.
Because you're allowing that person to reload. Right? They're going to go home and they're going to sleep on this one and think it through and
But
come up with all their points.
Yes, and the controlling person maybe reloading emotionally.
That's
or
what I'm saying, the
mentally,
controlling
right?
person.
But
Yeah.
remember, when you're the person talking to the you're the controllee, that's okay. You can let them be that way. Let them be air quote controlling. I still want you to sit there, head up, shoulders back, and I want you to say your piece. I want you to say how, when they do this, when they say that, how it makes you feel. And I still want you to say what your boundaries are.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine me. I'm like the angel on your shoulder. I'm on your shoulder tapping you. No. Don't back away from this. Don't back. Stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with this.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Believe you me, this is a big conversation for the controlling person. They're not going to forget this than it came from you. And even if in the moment they seem like they're not listening or they're still kind of being disrespectful, I would say they're not going to forget this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once again, if you have a person in your life who's really emotionally damaging to you, like I said at the beginning, at the top of this episode, that's a different conversation because you might be in a little bit more of an abusive situation. That's what this conversation is about. Okay. Yeah. So let's say you have had this conversation with this person and you thought it went okay, but they're not changing. They have just been this way. They've got these entrenched ways of being, behaving, thinking, and they're still controlling. And they're not respecting boundaries. They're not respecting your boundaries. It's like as if we never had the conversation. They're right back to where they are. We've got the holidays coming up and nothing has changed. All right, so let's be real. Some controlling people will hear you. They might reflect and they might genuinely try to change. Others will not. And you need to know that. Other people are not going to change just because you had a conversation with them and you told them how you feel and you think this and you think that. They may be like, I don't really care what they say. I'm not changing.
It's not in the cards.
This is who I am. And we know people like this.
Yeah, totally.
We're like, not happening, not changing.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, very, very hard for people to change. So what then? What do you do? All right. So this is where your focus is going to shift from how do I get them to behave differently? You're going to go into what do I do to protect my integrity and mental health if they don't change? I think we're talking to most of you about this because I do believe that a lot of people are not going to be changing.
Yeah.
Even after they've heard this. Okay?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And so you have to consider the only thing you actually control at this point is yourself.
And we all know this.
Yeah.
So how are you going to protect your integrity and your mental health? So you might need to limit topics that you're discussing with them. Maybe they're the person you're not taking a trip with anymore, or maybe you're not going for 5 or 7 days. Maybe your top is a weekend away with that person. Maybe it's a good friend of yours and you really do enjoy their company, but you're not doing a week trip with them again. Maybe you're going to spend less time in certain settings with them. Like you're not going to spend all day on Thanksgiving with them. You're not doing shared projects with them. Maybe you're not going to be with them for Thanksgiving and Christmas or the whole holiday season, like Hanukkah party. Maybe you're not doing that. You're doing one thing and you're going for 2 hours and you're leaving because that's your boundaries and those are your limits. You might need to stop explaining to them, stop defending or over justifying your choices. Really important. So maybe for you, it's just your own behavior. Stop explaining yourself to people. Stop defending yourself. You don't need to justify yourself to anyone. Don't do that anymore. Okay. And in extreme cases, consider bigger changes. I mean, you might need, if this is your spouse, you may need to go to couples therapy. Maybe you need a job change. If your boss is not changing, even if you've tried to speak to them, not changing, then I would say, and I have said this to clients before, okay, we've done all these things. You need to get on LinkedIn. You need to get on Indeed or all the places, and you need to hire a recruiter. You need a new job. That's not changing.
Yeah.
And if it's not sustainable for you, it's not manageable, then you do need to leave. Okay.
Yeah.
Go to therapy, get therapy. All right. If you need it, you know, you might need to end a relationship or restructure a relationship.
Yeah.
If it's your, family members, extended family members, you restructure, like I just said about how you change around the holidays. Okay. Some people need to end a relationship because they're not changing. They're not who you thought they were when you first met, and it's not changing.
Yeah.
Right. So I want you to remember, a boundary is not, if you do this, I'll punish you. A boundary is, if you choose that behavior, here's what I'm going to choose. If you choose to behave, to speak to me that way, this is what I will choose. You don't say that out loud. You think it to yourself and you do it.
Yeah.
If you choose to continue berating me, I will, it's not going to be some big dramatic performative thing. I will slowly just get up, get my things, grab my purse, grab my wallet. Thank you for having me. Good to see you. What do you mean? You're leaving? You're leaving? Gotta go. Gotta get to work tomorrow. I gotta drive home. I'm tired. Gotta go. Thank you for having me. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Thanks. Thanks for dinner. You go. You get up and you go. Doesn't have to be some big dramatic thing. I want it to be low key, low drama. You take care of yourself and go about doing it. Get up, send the signal to your spouse, your partner, if they're with a time to leave, and then you both do it together as a team.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's heard too. I mean, you haven't said anything. You've just left, right?
Right.
I mean, obviously you say goodbye, but like you haven't had a big conversation. Your action is what you're saying. You know what I mean? But I have to imagine that that's received by the person.
And so going further, I mean, I think that boundaries are so hard for us, and I think they're life's work. I think it's something we work on throughout our journey on this earth. But I think it's important that we start saying these sentences out loud to people and getting more comfortable with setting our own boundaries. So another example is, with a partner, if you continue to check my phone or my email, I'm not staying in this relationship. I'd say this is like a boyfriend, girlfriend, partner thing. I'm not staying in this relationship if you continue to do this because of your trust issues. I can't make that better for you. Assuming you're in a trusting relationship, if this is all their issue.
Yeah.
I can't stay in this relationship if that continues. If you keep undermining my parenting in front of the kids, we will need to take a break from overnights for a while, maybe to your in-laws or your own parents. If you can, or yeah, if you continue to yell and insult me in meetings, I'm going to be talking, I will go to HR. I don't know how I would say that. I'm going to need to talk to HR if you don't stop yelling at me and berating me and putting me down in front of everybody.
That's
human resources has to know about this.
there's a different.
This is getting to be abusive.
Yeah, there's a different layer of protection in a work setting, right? That you can because there's things that you can't do. You're really, that's not okay. You know what I mean? We all are employed here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, there's things, rules and regulations by the company on certain things, policies on certain things, and it's like, no, that
you can't do that.
You cannot do that. I don't. It doesn't really matter what your position is.
Right.
You cannot do that.
Right. So these are hard conversations. I know that these are really hard, but this is what coaching is about. I'm challenging all of you to step up in your life. All right. So, but this is what it looks like to stop being the project in somebody else's life and start being the protector of your own well-being. Right. I don't want you being a project. I want you to be the protector of yourself, have agency, and be empowered. All right. Start living that badass life. All right. Okay. So for those of you who are still listening and watching, here's some coaching questions for you. Okay. You can, you can journal these, you can play them back and just think about them when, let's say you're going for a walk or you're working out. I want you to think about these. So there's 6 of them here for you. All right. I love these coaching questions. Where in your life, number 1, where in your life do you feel most controlled right now? By whom? Where in your life do you feel most controlled right now? And who? By whom? Number 2, if you're completely honest with yourself, do you feel physically and emotionally safe confronting this person who's hard for you directly? Be completely honest. Do you feel emotionally and physically safe? Big question. Number 3, in that relationship, what is your usual pattern? Do you comply? Do you shut down? Or do you explode or blow up later at them? Number 4, if you had to put it in one sentence, what are you actually asking for from this person? I went through that earlier. Remember, what do you want? What are you actually asking for? Number 5, what boundary are you willing to set even if they don't like it? What boundary are you willing to set even if they don't like it? Okay. Number 6, so who could support you? Friend, therapist, coach, if this feels too big to do alone. If this feels like a lot for you, like, oh, this is a lot. Okay. Then get help with this. Get consultation, get a therapist, hire a coach, get someone to help you with this. Make sure that you check them out. They know what they're doing, but get somebody in your corner to help you with this. This is some big stuff and very, very important life stuff. Okay. Being on the receiving end of somebody else's control is exhausting for all of us. It's just exhausting.
So true.
It chips away at our confidence, at your confidence, at your sense of adulthood, your sense of self. It really can do a number on really your self-esteem, your self-belief, and like I said, confidence, right? So I want you to know you're not crazy for feeling like that, like overwhelmed and like this is a lot, right? You're not too sensitive. This is the thing that kind of bugs me is, oh, you're too sensitive. You're too sensitive. No, you're not too sensitive. You're not obligated to spend your one life on this earth being managed like a child by another adult. No, that's not why you're here. So you're managed by somebody else. Okay. You're allowed to name what's happening. You're allowed to say how it affects you. You're allowed to ask for something different in your life. You're allowed to draw a line and you're allowed to keep it. You're allowed to draw a line and you're allowed to keep it. Really important. All right. So if you're in a situation where you're thinking to yourself, I need to change this dynamic, but I have no idea how. This is exactly the kind of work I do in my one-on-one coaching. All right. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. hello@annamarcolene.com. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching, I'll help you. I will get you there. I will move that needle with you. Okay. Really important. This is so much of what I've been doing for almost 3 decades. I'll get you there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
I'll coach up. And it's different when it's one-on-one because this is you and it's your life and it's all about you.
Yeah.
It's all about your scenarios, your details, the people in your life. All right. So this is really important. So, if you want to, like I said, hello at Anna Marcolene, you can also check the show notes. All my information's there too, to follow me or any way that you can DM me through Instagram and TikTok. Okay. Anyway, find a way to reach out to me. I'm here. Okay. So until next time, keep doing the work, all this personal development, therapeutic type of work. Keep doing the work in your life, everybody. Keep telling yourself the truth. And remember, you don't have to stay small to keep someone else feeling safe. Okay. Don't do that anymore. You don't have to stay small. That's not what you're meant. That's not what you put on this earth to do. All right.
I like it.
So this is the end of number 2. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast with 5 stars if you're still listening. Mad love to all of you. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.